Haven Point was nothing like the gleaming space stations or corporate colonies Marcus had visited before. The settlement sprawled across a rocky plateau on the third planet of an unnamed system, its buildings a mixture of prefabricated modules and structures built from local materials. The whole place had the rough, practical look of a community that had been built by people who valued function over appearance. As the desert wind touched down at the small spaceport, Marcus could see why this place attracted refugees and outcasts from across the galaxy. There were no corporate logos, no guild banners, no government oversight offices, just people trying to build something better in a corner of space that nobody else wanted. Captain Rodriguez wished them luck as they disembarked, pressing a small communicator into Marcus's hand. "If you ever need transport off this rock, give me a call," she said. "And take care of that little girl. She's lucky to have you." Luna stayed close to Marcus as they made their way through the spaceport. Her hood pulled up to hide her distinctive features. The other passengers and crew members paid them no attention, which was exactly what Marcus had hoped for. The settlement's main street was bustling with activity despite the early hour. Marcus saw humans working alongside Zalaki, Thorn, and several species he didn't recognize. What he didn't see were any guild uniforms or enforcement officers. For the first time in weeks, he felt like he could breathe freely. Their first stop was the housing authority, a modest building that looked like it had been cobbled together from shipping containers and scrap metal. The woman behind the desk was human, middle-aged, with the kind of practical demeanor that Marcus was beginning to associate with frontier life. "Names?" she asked, without looking up from her paperwork. "Marcus Chen and Luna Chen," Marcus replied, using the false identity documents he had prepared during their journey. The woman glanced up at that, studying Luna's face with mild curiosity. "Related?" "She's my niece," Marcus said smoothly. "Her parents died in an accident. I'm her guardian now." "Sorry for your loss," the woman said, and Marcus could tell she meant it. "We've got a 2-room unit available in Sector 7. It's not fancy, but it's clean and private. You'll need to register for work assignments within the first week." The housing unit was indeed modest, but it was more than Marcus had dared to hope for. 2 rooms, a small kitchen area, and their own bathroom. After days of hiding in a tiny ship cabin, it felt like a palace. Luna explored every corner of their new home, her excitement obvious, despite her attempts to stay quiet. "This is really ours?" she asked, touching the walls as if she couldn't quite believe they were real. "Really ours," Marcus confirmed, "at least for as long as we want to stay here." Over the next few days, Marcus threw himself into establishing their new life. He registered for work in the settlement's engineering department, where his experience with mining equipment made him a valuable addition to the team. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough to cover their basic needs. More importantly, he began the delicate process of introducing Luna to their new community. She was naturally shy around strangers, and her vampire nature made socialization complicated. But Marcus was determined to give her as normal a childhood as possible. Their first real test came when Marcus enrolled Luna in the settlement school. The teacher, a patient woman named Mrs. Patterson, seemed to accept their story about Luna being a recent refugee without question. "She's very bright," Mrs. Patterson told Marcus after Luna's first day. "But she seems nervous around the other children. Has she had much social interaction lately?" "Not much," Marcus admitted. "It's been a difficult transition for her." "That's understandable. We have several children here who came from traumatic situations. They usually adjust given time and patience." What Mrs. Patterson didn't know was that Luna's nervousness wasn't just about being in a new place. It was about the constant fear that someone would discover what she was. The young vampire had to be constantly careful not to show her fangs, not to react too quickly when startled, not to display any of the enhanced reflexes and senses that marked her as different. Marcus watched Luna struggle with this burden and felt his heart break a little more each day. She was trying so hard to be normal, to fit in, to prove that she belonged. But the effort was wearing on her. 3 weeks into their stay at Haven Point, their carefully constructed new life almost came crashing down. Marcus was working late in the engineering bay when his communicator buzzed with an emergency message from Luna's teacher. "Mr. Chen, please come to the school immediately. There's been an incident." Marcus's blood turned cold as he raced across the settlement to the school building. He found Mrs. Patterson in her classroom with Luna and another child, a boy about Luna's age who was sporting a bloody nose. "What happened?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "There was a fight during recess," Mrs. Patterson explained. "Tommy was bullying some of the younger children, and Luna stepped in to stop him. Things got physical." Marcus looked at Luna, who was sitting quietly in the corner with her head down. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," Luna said softly. "But I think I might have hurt Tommy more than I meant to." Mrs. Patterson nodded. "Luna is much stronger than she looks. Tommy's nose is definitely broken, and he has some bruising that suggests Luna's grip was unusually firm." Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. If Luna had displayed vampire strength in front of other children, if word got around the settlement that she wasn't human. "I can explain," Marcus started, but Mrs. Patterson held up a hand. "Mr. Chen, I've been teaching children for 15 years. I've seen kids from dozens of different species and backgrounds. I know unusual when I see it." She looked directly at Luna. "The question is, are you dangerous to the other children?" Luna's head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear and hurt. "No, I would never hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. Tommy was being mean to the little kids, and I just wanted him to stop." Mrs. Patterson studied Luna's face for a long moment. "I believe you, but you need to understand that if you're going to live here, you need to be more careful about how much strength you use. Can you do that?" "Yes, ma'am," Luna said earnestly. "I promise I'll be more careful." "Good. Now why don't you head home with your uncle while I talk to Tommy's parents? I think we can handle this without involving the settlement authorities." As they walked home, Marcus waited for Luna to explain. Finally, she spoke up in a small voice. "I know I messed up, but Tommy was pushing around kids who were half his size, and nobody was stopping him. I couldn't just stand there and watch." Marcus stopped walking and knelt down to Luna's level. "You did the right thing standing up for those kids, but Mrs. Patterson is right. You need to be more careful. People are going to notice if you keep showing abilities that human children don't have." "I know," Luna said, tears starting to form in her eyes. "I'm trying so hard to be normal, Marcus, but sometimes I forget, and my vampire side shows through." "Hey," Marcus said gently, pulling her into a hug. "You don't have to be normal. You just have to be careful. There's a difference." "What if people find out what I am? What if they call the guild?" Marcus held her tighter. "They won't. And even if they did, I wouldn't let anyone take you away from me. Do you understand? You're my family now, and I protect my family." That night, as Marcus tucked Luna into bed, she looked up at him with serious eyes. "Marcus, I know I'm not really your niece, and you're not really my uncle, but you're the best family I've ever had. You're my family too, kiddo. Blood doesn't make a family, love does." The next few months passed peacefully. Luna learned to control her strength better and made friends with several children at school. Marcus found satisfaction in his work and began to feel like they were truly building a life at Haven Point. But their peace was shattered on a cold morning in late autumn when Marcus spotted familiar black ships in the spaceport through his office window. The Vampire Hunter Guild had found them. Marcus raced to the school, his heart pounding. He burst into Mrs. Patterson's classroom just as she was dismissing the children for lunch. "Luna!" he called out, trying to keep the panic out of his voice. "We need to go." Right now. Mrs. Patterson took one look at his face and understood immediately. Children, please go to the cafeteria for lunch. Luna, your uncle needs to speak with you. As soon as they were alone, Marcus knelt down and grabbed Luna's hands. The guild is here. We have to leave immediately. Luna's face went pale, but she didn't panic. Where will we go? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. Can you get to our quarters without being seen? Yes, I know all the back ways. Good. Pack only what you absolutely need. I'm going to create a distraction. Marcus's plan was desperate, but it was the only chance they had. He went to the settlement's communications center and sent out a false emergency alert about a reactor malfunction in Sector 12. Within minutes, emergency crews and curious residents were rushing toward the other side of the settlement. The distraction gave Marcus and Luna the chance they needed to reach the spaceport without being spotted by guild patrols. But as they approached the desert wind, which Marcus hoped would still be in port, they found their path blocked by 3 guild hunters. Marcus Chen, the lead hunter said, checking a tablet, and the vampire juvenile designated Luna 47. You're both under arrest for violation of Galactic Council Directive 447. She's just a child, Marcus said, stepping protectively in front of Luna. She hasn't done anything wrong. She exists, the hunter replied. That's crime enough. Marcus felt rage building in his chest, the same fire that had driven him to stand up to corruption back on Earth. No, I won't let you take her. You don't have a choice, human. That's when Captain Rodriguez appeared behind the guild hunters, flanked by her entire crew. Actually, he does have a choice. The lead hunter spun around, his hand moving toward his weapon. This is guild business. You have no authority here. This is a free port, Rodriguez said calmly. The guild has no authority here either, and that little girl is under my protection as a passenger on my vessel. We have a legal warrant for her arrest. From what jurisdiction? Haven Point isn't subject to Galactic Council law. We're an independent settlement. Marcus watched in amazement as more people emerged from the surrounding buildings. Mrs. Patterson was there, along with several other teachers and parents from the school, the housing authority woman who had processed their arrival, workers from the engineering department, dozens of Haven Point residents, all standing together in defiance of the guild. You can't fight all of us, Rodriguez continued. And I don't think you want to explain to your superiors why you started a war over one little girl. The guild hunters looked around nervously. They were outnumbered at least 20-1, and everyone in the crowd looked ready for a fight. This isn't over, the lead hunter finally said. We'll be back with reinforcements. And we'll be ready for you, Mrs. Patterson said firmly. Haven Point protects its own. As the guild hunters retreated to their ships, Marcus felt tears running down his cheeks. These people barely knew him and Luna, but they were willing to stand up to the most feared organization in the galaxy to protect them. Why? He asked Rodriguez. Why would you risk this for us? Because it's the right thing to do, she said simply, and because that little girl has already become part of this community. We don't abandon our own. Luna tugged at Marcus's sleeve. Does this mean we can stay? Marcus looked around at the faces surrounding them. People of different species, different backgrounds, different histories, all united by the simple belief that children deserved protection and families deserved to stay together. Yeah, kiddo, I think we can stay. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the schoolyard watching Luna play with her friends during recess. She was careful with her strength, mindful of her differences, but she was happy. More importantly, she was free. The guild had returned twice more, but each time they had found Haven Point ready for them. The settlement had invested in better defenses and formed alliances with other independent colonies. Word had spread throughout the Outer Rim that there was a place where refugees could find safety, where children could grow up without fear of persecution. Luna ran up to Marcus, breathless and grinning. Uncle Marcus, did you see? I scored 3 goals in the soccer game. I saw. You're getting really good at controlling your kicks. Mrs. Patterson says I might be ready to try out for the Colony Championship team next year. Marcus smiled. That would be amazing. As they walked home together, Luna slipped her hand into his. Marcus, thank you for saving me. Thank you for giving me a family, Marcus replied. Even though I'm different? Even though I'm vampire? Marcus stopped walking and looked down at the little girl who had changed his life completely. Luna, you're not different. You're special. And being vampire doesn't make you a monster any more than being human makes me a hero. What matters is what you choose to do with who you are. I want to help other kids like me, Luna said seriously. When I grow up, I want to make sure no other vampire children have to hide and be scared. I think that's a wonderful goal, and I'll help you however I can. As they reached their home, Marcus reflected on how much their lives had changed since that terrifying night on the mining station. Luna was thriving, making friends, learning to balance her vampire nature with the need to fit in. She was becoming the remarkable person Marcus had always known she could be. More importantly, she was happy, she was safe, she was loved. That night, as Marcus tucked Luna into bed, she looked up at him with the same serious expression she had worn so many times before. Marcus, you know how you said that love makes a family, not blood? Yeah. Well, I love you, so that makes us real family, right? The realest family in the galaxy, Marcus said, kissing her forehead. As Luna drifted off to sleep, Marcus sat in their small living room and thought about the journey that had brought them here. He had lost everything when he left Earth. His career, his home, his old life. But he had gained something infinitely more valuable. He had gained a daughter. Outside their window, the stars shone down on Haven Point, where a human man and a vampire child slept peacefully under the protection of a community that had chosen love over fear, acceptance over prejudice, and family over everything else. It was, Marcus thought as he finally headed to bed, the most human thing imaginable.